course, there are tons of films and TV shows that have showcased these majestic creatures. But few have been able to create the kind of hype that the Game of Thrones franchise has been able to do. So, here are the top 25 dragon scenes in the Game of Thrones universe. Yep, I'm kicking off my list with a nice little cooking class for Laenor Velaryon, hosted by none other than his buddy Seasmoke. He comes in at the right time as well, with Daemon not looking in the best condition as he takes on the enemy during the Stepstones battle. The simple sight of Laenor arriving on a white dragon which burns the living daylights out of all his opponents is a brutal yet exceptional display of power. Of course, Seasmoke does more than enough to prove why he's a great asset to have in battle, but it's his master who totally steals the show with his excitement and passion. It's almost as if he was waiting for this moment for his whole life. Just listen to how he goes woohoo, while Seasmoke picks up one of the soldiers and throws him into oblivion. The White Dragon also was an excellent choice for battle because he blended in perfectly with the foggy surroundings. Also, while Laenor may look like a total fanboy, I think his excitement is warranted because he's not ever gone out to battle before. And one more thing, I know that dragons are supposed to be deadly and stuff, but doesn't Seasmoke look really cute to you? He's like the dog equivalent of a dragon if you ask me. I did just mention how Seasmoke looked really cute, so here are 3 baby dragons that are as cute as these beasts can get. Of course, since this list mainly covers power demonstrations, I also have to point out the baby dragons are pretty deadly as well. Just take a look at what happened to Piach Pri at the House of the Undying. I know you've got magic and stuff, but was it really a good idea to chain up the woman who's known as the Mother of Dragons? On top of that, did you not bother to safeguard yourself against a potential flame attack? You're literally threatening Daenerys Targaryen in front of her little kids. Surely you would have at least anticipated a hissy fit, right? Well, I'm glad that Piach Pri was an idiot because this display of flames was pretty epic. Burning down the opposition with 3 combined fire attacks was a super badass flex. It's a shame that we never got to see Drogon, Viserion and Rhaegar uniting their flames when they became fully formed adults. Now that would have been a Godzilla level blast. Man, the production of the earlier Game of Thrones seasons used to be so immersive. The soft magic, the mystery, the eeriness, history lurking in every scene. It was just peak television. Okay, before we go ahead, let me tell you about a solution that's discreet and super effective. Keeps. Yeah, that's right. If you don't know already, 2 out of 3 men start experiencing male pattern baldness by the time they hit 35. So, to counter this, Keeps offers both of the FDA-approved hair loss treatments, and they also offer a 2-in-1 combination of them both. Plus, with discreet packaging, personalized treatments by licensed medical providers, and flexible delivery options, even Thanos would want to subscribe to Keeps. Personally, I started to worry a bit when I spotted the early signs in my own hair, but I ran into Keeps at the right time and snapped those problems away with the Infinity Stones of hair loss treatment. Trust me, these guys know exactly what they're doing. Most men notice results within as little as 6 months of starting their treatment with Keeps. Not just that, Keeps has catered to over 1 million men over the past 6 years and have 5,000 5-star reviews. Keeps also has decided to do you a solid by offering a free goodie to TV Regent fans. Just head over to keeps.com/theTVRegent to avail the special offer and rid yourself of hair loss issues before you turn into the next Vin Diesel. You want to know what's deadlier than a dragon? A freaking zombie dragon. After the Night King uses his powers to revive Viserion, he transforms into an undead beast that breathes blue fire. Yeah, just when you thought things couldn't get cooler with these creatures, they go another step further. Viserion's powers are put to the test almost immediately when he's tasked with destroying the famed wall of the Night's Guard. and he doesn't disappoint. It's a lengthy scene, but deserves praise for every single second as we get to witness total annihilation from an extended fire blast attack. Viserion looks super intimidating, and so does the Night King, who's riding his new pet like a total boss man. Bruh, I wish these dragons were Pokemon. Can you even imagine how easily I'd be able to catch them all if I had one of those bad boys? You want to know what's really badass? Dropping down on your rivals with your pet dragon growling at them in badass fashion. Like, what can they even say at this point? You're late? Just go like, yeah, I couldn't find any parking, so I thought I'd make the coolest freaking entrance of all time. Daenerys showing herself to the likes of Cersei and Euron this way totally cemented her dominance, especially when you could see both Drogon and Rhaegal flying above. Yeah, it was a bit sad not to see Viserion with his brothers, and he could have actually pushed the enemies into thinking that dragons weren't invincible after all. Anyway, from the look of Cersei's face, she was clearly not trying to show that she was struck with fear the moment she put her eyes on Drogon. And Euron's face basically said, "Ah, damn it, I'm with the wrong queen." Now this scene is obviously a badass showcasing of power by displaying the sheer size of her dragons, but Drogon also shows that he's much more than just a fire-breathing monster. He keeps his eyes on the enemy as he crawls down into the arena so that Daenerys can focus on climbing off his body. He then slowly dips down to an almost painful looking level so Dany can dismount. See, now that's what I call a good son.
So I'm presenting you with a choice.
Daemon Targaryen is easily my favourite character from House of the Dragon because even though he's supposed to be a shady dude with selfish intentions most of the time, he completely owns his persona and doesn't shy away from acting out however he pleases. Of course, his dragon Caraxes is pretty much the spitting image of him if you consider how faithful and loyal he is to his master's goals. Dude's being given the name of Bloodworm, so it makes his red coloration all the more terrifying. Here, when Daemon presents an ultimatum to the Kingsguard at Dragonstone on whom to swear fealty to, we can see Caraxes stepping out at the exact same time Daemon wants him to flex his size and power. It's almost as if they've got a singular mind. Even when Daemon took Dragonstone, the same thing happened, and that's what's great about this scene, as there's no need to even speak a word. We've never heard Daemon say Dracarys because, presumably, it's made to seem like he doesn't really need to do that. The real display of power over here is loyalty. If I had a dragon like Caraxes, I'd probably feel invincible.
Swear anew your oath to Rhaenyra as your queen.
What do I hold on to?
Whatever you can.
It still pisses me off to this day that they ended Rhaegal in the silliest way possible. You don't just discard a freaking dragon with a random shot. That should be a criminal offence. Anyway, I'm not here to criticise the last season, I'm just going to pick and choose the few scenes from it that were actually good. Jon Snow's first fight, for example, was a majestic ride that had us all cheering not just for him, but also for Rhaegal. A wrongful death aside, Rhaegal had to just step aside and watch as Drogon got all the love in the world from their mom. Daenerys would only ride Drogon, so it clearly made his sibling a little bit jealous. Here, when he finally found a suitable rider, he made sure to show us just how good he is with his flight powers. Also, the way they downplayed Jon Snow's bonding with Rhaegal was another mistake from the writers. There should have been more of an emphasis on this phenomenon because dragons don't just let anyone ride them. Either way, it's a magnificent sequence, and I loved how Jon tells Dany that she's completely spoiled horses for him.
You've completely ruined horses for me.
Plus the fact that Rhaegal is named after Jon's biological father is even more poetic. Look, I know that Daemon technically can't claim 2 dragons to himself, but even so, his scene here with Vermithor was pretty epic. The power demonstration on display is that of the giant dragon breathing fire against the backdrop of darkness, and it makes the scene look a lot more menacing and scarier than anything else we've seen in the House of the Dragon so far. However, I also want to give props to Daemon for not quivering in fear upon the sight of such an overpowered beast. Sure, he already has Caraxes bonded to him for life, but I guess it doesn't hurt to have a side dragon as well. Plus, the dude was literally singing to the dragon, so that makes this whole sequence look like some kind of mating ritual. Of course, that's not a detail I want to go to because I'm still traumatized by the biological implications of how Donkey and Elizabeth became a couple in Shrek. But yeah, that immense size, those deadly fangs, and that display of flames, they all culminated to give us what could be one of the most deadliest dragons on show for Season 2. Dragons are mainly known for breathing fire, but the power of flight is something that you shouldn't at all underestimate. Take this scene for example. You've got two of the strongest dragons in the Game of Thrones universe in a bit of a flying competition as each of them tries to one-up the other in extreme fashion. Daemon and Caraxes were totally owning it with the way they went about their business, but even though Vhagar was old, she still put on a pretty cool display with Laena. The fire blast towards the end was a pretty cool flex, but then Caraxes surpassed it almost instantly by flying right through the flames. I know I just spoke about Daemon being a boss man for singing to Vermithor, but this scene easily trumps that, no questions asked. Another thing the creators did very well here was the variety they gave to the dragons. This scene pretty much demonstrates that aspect perfectly, and you can tell just by watching how they fly. Vhagar, being the largest dragon in the world, is essentially a tank. She's all power, moving in smooth, fluid strokes. Caraxes, meanwhile, is a lot leaner and more aerodynamic, so he's able to pull off tighter turns, steeper dives, and can be a lot more acrobatic. Seeing a dragon as epic as Drogon landing in front of you has got to be one of the most intimidating experiences of all time. The entire sequencing here is made to lead up to the actual highlight though, which is when Jon Snow lays his hand on the mighty beast. It's a beautiful moment because Drogon realizes that Jon is one of them. Just look at the detailing of his eyes. A lot of people probably may not have noticed, but the switch in Drogon's eyes from a constricted pupil to a dilated pupil was meticulous craft at its finest. This showed a change in emotion from anger, anxiety, or attack mode to a calm, relaxed mode. A round of applause for the animators for that one, because you don't get this level of output nowadays. Also, just imagine how Drogon must have been feeling at this time. He must have been like, I'm a dragon, bow down to me, you puny human. And then after sniffing Jon, he would have gone like, hey, wait a second, you're one of us. But the worst part had to be when he figured Daenerys was bumping uglies with her own nephew. Yeah, no wonder he was ready to burn down everything in Season 8. Look, this is actually a split between two scenes, and I'll cover the second half later on, but for now, I just want to talk about the moment where Viserion is reunited with his brothers Drogon and Rhaegal. Of course, it's not the same Viserion anymore because he's a freaking zombie dragon right now. The power demonstration here is primarily how he bosses around Rhaegal for a bit before Drogon decides to take matters into his own hands, or in this case, his wings and claws. Seriously, I'd like to think that Viserion and Rhaegal are more evenly matched as normal dragons, but the zombie edge may have made things a bit too difficult for the third sibling. It's more of a fighting flex over Rhaegal, and I feel that this humiliation was mainly because Jon Snow wasn't nearly as trained when it came to fighting zombie dragons. It's kind of funny actually, because Kit Harington is also in the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. Even the way Rhaegal crash lands shows that he wasn't going to last much longer. Once again, I want to remind you that I'm not covering the main fight because that's going to come a little bit later. Aemon Targaryen is yet another brilliantly written character, and his vulnerabilities are exposed over here as he tries to ride the largest dragon of them all. Yep, you guessed it, Vhagar. The scene starts off on an ominous note as Vhagar clearly doesn't want this kid-looking person to ride her, and she even opens her mouth for a neat fire blast, but thanks to the magic of dragon language, she manages to hold back. This is yet another cool trick that dragons have. They can stop their fire blast midway, which showcases the amount of control they have over their own power. But yeah, on a serious note, come on bro, let the old lady take a nap, will ya? Of course, the best part of this sequence was the actual fight, which was a bit shaky for Aemond at the start, but went on to become a classic moment. My only issue with the scene is that it's poorly lit in the TV show, and it's been so annoying for fans that they've actually tried to light it up in some cool YouTube edits. But yeah, it's nice to know that an old lady can still give you a nice ride. The series finale left the majority of the massive fan base, well, disappointed, and I suppose that's putting it lightly. I don't know what kind of edibles the writers were on at the time, but at least they gave us one final fire burst from Drogon when he melts the Iron Throne after seeing his dead mommy. Pretty much everyone was wondering why he didn't make a nice roast out of Jon Snow after such a traumatic sight, but I guess even dragons get 21st century symbolism nowadays. Anyway, the fire blast was a sight to behold, and you can clearly see the irony of seeing the Iron Throne melt away after 8 seasons of bloodshed. Man, they made Drogon look so deep and philosophical here, it made me wonder if he was the inspiration behind Smart Hulk. Anyway, it looked like the mystical beast had enough of the showrunners by this time, so he takes his mom and flies away, hoping never to be called back for any of the sequels. Now this is how you close off the first season of what was supposed to be the most epic show of all time, until they messed it up all in the final moments. Regardless, the birth of the dragons is an all-time high for the show, because it shows us that Daenerys is indeed immune to fire, and it also tells us that the CGI budget is going to increase like crazy moving forward. Seeing those 3 cute little babies popping up like that was a great way to officially crown Daenerys as the mother of dragons. And if we're being honest here, this is the beginning of her life as a true Targaryen queen. The power on display was from the human, but it was boosted by the fact that she could control 3 freaking dragons. Also, to have been able to pull off such an achievement after so many years was nothing short of legendary. Don't you love it when a couple of dragons are used to show off your power? That's kind of what happens here when Daemon and Rhaenyra face off in a war of words. The main flex obviously happens when Caraxes gets ready to scorch all those soldiers opposing his master, but then to have Syrax also showing up like that was a nice little cherry on top of the cake. I gotta say, Caraxes reflects Daemon perfectly. They're both moody, different and terrifying. The books say that Daemon was more of a snake than a dragon, meaning he's cunning AF. Now, take a look at Caraxes. He has the shape of a snake. That's pretty neat, huh? Oh yeah, and I know I've mentioned this before, so I thought I'd let you in on some trivia. It appears that the showrunners considered the anatomy of Caraxes quite carefully and purposely made his roar higher pitched due to his long neck. The attention to detail in this series is incredible, and this particular sequence also highlights how in one single command, these beasts can wreak havoc with no one being able to do anything about it. Here's a little tip. Don't ever threaten someone who owns 3 freaking dragons. Now that might seem like common sense to us, but the Masters clearly didn't receive the memo, did they? Like, why are they even called the Masters? They're more like Dumb and Dumber. Moving on, Daenerys ain't got time for exposition, so she summons Drogon and flies away, after which she sees Viserion and Rhaegal break free. The epic trio joins forces and burns the Slavers' Bay fleet with one simple command: Dracarys. Man, the way they demolished those ships would make anyone piss their pants. It's not just the flame powers on display here, we also get to see some awesomely animated flight visuals, and it's a nice little cherry on the cake to see the Dothraki army killing those weird sons of the Harpy. I never got those guys, to be honest. Were those masks supposed to be a part of some kink game? The Night King is one big baddie and his undead army is even scarier. The epic battle in this penultimate episode of Season 7 was a sight to behold for many reasons, but the standout was easily the grand entrance of Daenerys and her deadly threesome. The dragons put on an impressive display in front of the undead army by burning them to shreds, but the Night King still manages to nab Viserion. That was probably the only low point of the scene, because the rest of the visuals were too freaking remarkable. The backdrop of night against the deadly flames served for an amazing contrast. I mean, even the DC execs could learn a thing or two about dark lighting from these scenes. But yeah, it was a heroic effort from Daenerys to save Jon Snow from certain death, because, well, he's a nephew slash lover slash future murderer. I know, it's complicated. Yep, this is the most badass entrance of any dragon I've ever seen so far in the show, and its timing is just too good to ignore. The way Daemon shows up with Caraxes in the middle of the crab feeders battle was of epic proportions, and the burning down of those enemy soldiers further proved why you shouldn't mess with people who can control such monsters.
Where are you? I'm gonna feed you to your own crabs! Where are you?
It was a little funny to see that poor soldier getting stepped on right as he was cheering for Daemon, but yeah, the constant fire blast really lit up the scene. Sure, there were all those arrow attacks later on, but they didn't do anything to harm Caraxes. The only reason he flew away was because his master Daemon was in trouble, and it goes on to further prove why this dragon's loyalty is just on a whole other level. A child's love for his mother is one of the strongest forces in the world. It's the kind of family bonding that would even put Vin Diesel to shame. Anyway, teenage Drogon has a little argument with Mommy and doesn't respond to her, so Daenerys is left on her own against those weirdo sons of the Harpy as they try to assassinate her and end the series whilst it's still amazing. However, Drogon awakens his inner Dom Toretto, so he rushes to the venue and kills a bunch of those assassins in literal Fast and Furious manner.
That's my girl.
Remember, the dragon still isn't fully formed here, so he was bound to struggle against an endless army of goons. But he still puts up an awesome fight and causes a lot of damage before saving his mother dearest and flying away. Now that's how you execute an amazing cameo.
Dracarys.
You gotta hand it to Daenerys Targaryen. She truly rose to prominence after getting in touch with the dark side. We see it in full effect when she negotiates with the Valyrian Lord for the Unsullied army. I know she kinda seems savage for trading in her own baby Drogon in exchange for control over an army of impotent soldiers, but it turns out to be a devious plan that would make any Ocean's 11 fan proud.
Dovageris!
She orders her son to Dracarys, that mofo, and the little cutie does so with ease. Man, he roasted that clueless schmuck faster than KFC grills my burgers. It's also pretty terrifying to imagine a little beast that's capable of such devastation. See, this is a more accurate use of the term Brightburn, not an evil super baby.
Zaldrizes buzdaris kosdaur.
Idraji valere?
Now this is how to make a threat, that too without having to speak even a single word. Rhaenys had been a rather quiet character up until this point, but oh boy, was it worth the wait or what. Making her entrance with her dragon Meleys, aka the Red Queen, was so badass that everyone was pissing their pants and trying to make it for the exit. Doing this in the middle of Aegon's freaking coronation was even more badass. It was a bit odd that Rhaenys decided to spare both Aegon and Alicent despite casually killing dozens of people in the middle of her landing. However, she was here to make one statement: you're only alive because I say so. Man, the way Meleys simply unleashing her flames was as captivating as it could get, because all of us were just out here thinking, yeah, these guys are toast. Rhaenys really is the queen who should have been, and this proves that point without a shadow of doubt. talk about power demonstrations, it's always regarding a battle, so it's about time I introduced a full-on dragon versus dragon encounter here. Yep, the battle between zombie Viserion and good boy Drogon was something everyone was expecting the moment they saw the Night King awaken his new warrior. The fight wasn't as long as most of us would have expected, but that's okay, because it was almost euphoric to see the blazing red flames of Drogon counter the icy blue flames of Viserion. The dragons have a decent go at each other, and it does seem that Drogon had the upper hand, but at the end of the day, it was Arya Stark who put everyone to rest with her sneak attack. Yeah, that moment has its fair share of lovers and haters, and I guess it was the trigger that brought that Game of Thrones meme to life. This was by far the best scene involving dragons in Season 1, and we finally get to see Vhagar showing off why she's one of the deadliest beasts to have ever existed in this universe. The chase against Lucerys and Arrax was always supposed to be a little tease from Aemon's side, but he clearly didn't anticipate that Vhagar was going to act of her own volition and freaking eat up poor little Arrax and Lucerys. The flight sequences were pretty cool and all, but I think it's safe to say that the final crunch wasn't in the script. Of course, I also need to point out the fact that Arrax tried to be a bit sneaky with that fire blast, so he should have been expecting a retort. That granny wasn't going to let such a thing slide, and the cinematography here totally enhanced the gruesome nature of what we just saw. Okay, so just to be clear, this is the first half of an extended battle because it would have been unfair to clump so many moments into just one entry. After losing Rhaegal, Daenerys has pretty much had it with Cersei and the Iron Fleet, so she executes an all-out attack with her beloved Drogon. And man, does he put on a show or what? Drogon swoops in and makes light work of the entire fleet by taking down all battleships in just a matter of seconds. I mean, judging from Greyjoy's expressions, the dude looks just as terrified as Courage the Cowardly Dog. So, you know the Dragon Boss ain't messing around. I gotta say, those flames make even the Human Torch look like a matchstick in front of the overpowered dragon. Drogon ain't done though, so you've gotta wait a little longer till I complete this sequence. Not that long though, this is the TV region, not GTA 6. Don't you just hate it when your entire army is ambushed by a dragon that's capable of wiping out an entire city in just a matter of minutes? Yeah, I'm sure Jaime Lannister can relate. His troops are having a normal day, minding their own business, till things take a fiery turn when they're attacked by the Dothraki army and Drogon. There's a lot of bloodshed in this scene, but the highlight once again is the dragon breath that pretty much destroys all of the Lannister army's weapons. Man, I've seen a lot of dragons across movies, TV, and even anime, but Drogon is easily a top-tier monster. I'll give props to Jaime for still trying to kill the Dragon Queen, but come on, we all know how stupid decisions end. Just ask Ezra Miller. I'm sure he knows what I'm talking about. See, I promised I'd be back with the rest of the scene, didn't I? After taking care of the Iron Fleet, Drogon moves to King's Landing and does what he does best: burn. And I'm not talking about a comedy stand-up special. The merciless beast makes his way all over the kingdom and burns down everything in his path without even the slightest bit of hesitation. It really was amazing to witness the magnitude of such power, even though the person commanding him is a little princess who only likes to see her subjects bend the knee. After this scene though, I'm sure everyone was ready to bend their knees back and even bend over just to survive. Just think about it, Drogon managed to destroy a freaking city filled with people and soldiers without even breaking a sweat. Can you imagine how destructive he could have been if his mom was Hela? Or worse, if his dad was Thanos? Actually, this could be a possibility considering we're in the middle of the multiverse saga. Once again, thanks to Keeps for sponsoring this video and for the free hair product. Hair loss stops with Keeps. For a special offer to get started, go to keeps.com/theTVRegent or click the link in the description. That's keeps.com/THETV regent. Hope you like this video, please subscribe to the TV region, and here's another video that I know you're going to enjoy.